function f of t equals negative 16t squared plus s of o, what's that? Represents the approximate height in feet. So what does f of t represent? No. What does f of t represent? Good. So it's the approximate height in feet. So of a falling object after t seconds, what does t represent? Ryan, what does t represent? After it's dropped from an initial height, SO, what does SO represent, Dawn? An initial height, okay? What does initial mean? The beginning, so where it starts. So SO in this function represents where that object starts. An egg is dropped from a height of 64 feet. So where does the egg start? The 64, which is your SO. So the first thing we have to do is we replace our function with SO is 64 because that is where the egg starts. It's the initial height. After how many seconds does the egg hit the ground? So essentially we said f of t was the height. What does f of t have to be when an egg hits the ground? Zero, right? Because it's not off the ground. So 0 equals negative 16t squared plus 64. What would you do to solve for t? Minus 64, and then you're going to divide by negative 16. Okay. So we'd have negative 64, and we'd have negative 16t squared. So then I'd divide by negative 16, divide by negative 16, and I'd get what? 4 equals t squared. How do you get rid of the square? Square root it. How many answers do you get when you take the square root of a number? 2. What would they be? Okay, which one does not make sense? You can't have negative 2 seconds. So, how long does it take for the egg to hit the ground? Wait, from 60 feet of the building. Yep. Okay, suppose the initial height is adjusted by k feet. How will this affect part A? So, if we were to move that up k feet or down k feet, how would that affect the overall function? Add a plus k to it. What? Then it would just be 2 plus k. What would you add the k to is my question, I guess. Which feet? So so if we were to adjust it by k feet, what would change would be our initial starting point, right? So if I was to say that k was 3 feet, what would my initial height be? 67, because I would add 3 feet from previous, right? And if I said k was negative 20, that means I'm going down to 20, so where would the egg start? 44. Okay, so when you adjust it by k feet, you're changing the initial height of the egg, so where it starts. So then you just add that to the actual. It's just asking, like in words, like what would the k do? So it'd be changing your initial.
Because there's no way you can solve it if it's just k.
Right.
If that okay.
Okay. Questions?